Hello, my dear Franken friends, and welcome to Spookyou, your one-stop shop for all things ghastly and ghoulish. I'm your host, Barnabas Vixen, and my, do we have a tasty assortment of tantalizing tales for you today. Handpicked by our very own Weavers of Woe. Guaranteed to send a chill down your spine, or your money back, so it's non-refundable. But enough teasing, because you're here for the stories, aren't you? Well, without further ado, allow me to pass the reins on over to our vivacious voiceover virtuoso, Trey Falco, for the first of tonight's spooky stories. And I'll be seeing you real soon. That is, if this doesn't spook your eyeballs out first.
A magician came to our town one dreary day after a large thunderstorm. He carried a briefcase that he claimed was filled with people's hopes and dreams. And the magician was a tall man wearing bizarre yet exquisite clothes. People found themselves mesmerized by the stranger for reasons they didn't quite understand at the time. He charmed the crowds with his many otherworldly tricks, such as conjuring daisies out of thin air, and he set up shop in the town afterwards. Come one and all for a special one-chance opportunity. For a certain fee, you'll get what you want. His first customer was a single woman who was blind from birth. She always spent her life imagining sights in her mind, and she received her sight a few days later and was delighted for a good while. But then came the ugly truth. Pus-filled boils were all over her body, somehow manifesting in the night. The skin around her face sagged, giving her a permanent frown, and a hunchback formed on her back. Her fingernails grew long and gnarled, and she hid herself in her home to hide her shame. Another was a man who had a talkative child that brought unwanted attention to himself. The magician worked his magic, and it worked. Without a tongue, the boy permanently kept to himself and was never a bother again. But the father would forever be tormented by his decision. A working mom asked the magician for a vacation to a place far away. She disappeared without a trace. Soon after her, the people of the town became ensnared by the magician's promises. The town was washed in chaos, with the residents' wishes being fulfilled at drastic cost. People coveted their neighbors' possessions. Some found themselves further looking up towards the magician with new additions to their demands. They became like rabid animals, biting and assaulting each other to get the magician's attention. He gave them markings of his symbol to act as payment for his services. Eventually, it seemed as though time itself halted, with some citizens claiming to have the markings all over their bodies. But the oddest thing, however, is that the magician remained the same age, while the others around him were reduced to dust. My child used to be normal until a few nights ago. He used to run around like a normal 6-year-old, never wanting to go to bed. Normal child. I knew something was off when he started talking about the long-haired woman. At first, I assumed it was a normal imaginary friend. But then he complained of nightmares every night like clockwork at 10:46, every night. I took him to a therapist to see if she could fix his nightmares, but it didn't work. It kept happening every night again. In the nightmare, the woman used her hair to reach for my boy in his bed, and he would be pulled into her while her mouth unhinged like a snake. And then he always woke up after that. I couldn't sleep because the dream started happening multiple times a night. He would wake up screaming, and I had to go comfort him because he would just keep screaming. I started to get a sense of dread in his room. It felt like a car was about to hit me, and my son insisted that she was real. I started dreaming of a long-haired woman too, but in the dream, she would look just like a normal person. I started seeing shadows in my room. Then the voices. Then the cracks in the ceiling. I woke up one cold night in a cold sweat, and that was when a horrible scream tore through the silence. The shadows shifted around a corner as long hair fell from the ceiling. And that's when it hit me that my son was telling the truth.
Finally! We've been trying for eons to reach you about your plow horse's extended warranty. Please remain on the line while we transfer you to one of our account fairies. While I'm sure you'd love to get back to that living nightmare, I've got something far more exciting. One of our wretched sponsors. Tell me, listener, have you been having trouble down there? There's no reason to be embarrassed. It happens to everyone at times. It even happened to my grandfather. That's where Brainy Bob's Grave Services comes into play. When you just can't possibly get those old bones up like you used to and roll around in your grave, Brainy Bob's delicate caretakers are here to assist you. On call 24/7 whenever you're feeling in the mood. I guarantee you'll be left feeling like your younger self. Please seek an apothecary if symptoms last longer than 4 eons. It could be considered a mystical emergency. Brady Bob's Grave Services, shaking the dust off dysfunctional bones since 1203. I suppose now it's time to return you to your story, though you really should look into that, plow horse warranty.
It is perched on a branch, not far from my window, watching, staring with an unfathomable black eye. Its wings stretching out, crimson dripping down them like cruel rain. And each call it let out from its sharp beak summoning more of the hellbird, each with its own cruel and twisted face. Some with necks that turned and bent where no neck should. Some had no eyes or too many eyes. And the worst was when their many eyes would begin to bleed, further staining the black wings red. It is closer now, sitting upon the branch that often scrapes against my window, scaring me as a child. And it sees me. Its eye, black as sin, stares through me and into my mind. It knows what I've done. I can't stay here, but I can't leave. And there's more of them now. The leaves that were once green in the motion sensor light are now nothing but black masses with shiny eyes, all watching and waiting. It's at my windowsill now, its beak hitting the glass. I can't move. My eyes locked on the bird as it pecks on the thick glass of my window. It can't break through, right? I've had birds fly into the window and fall without leaving so much as a scratch, so a beak won't do anything, right? The other birds are coming closer, moving towards the window. Now that they're closer, I could see their eyes too. The same black as sin eyes that seem to see into my mind, running their sight-line knives through my thoughts and into my innermost regrets. They know, and I can't run this time. The window's cracking. They're all ramming the window. I need to get out. I'm going downstairs, but the windows down there are surrounded by birds too, each cracking and each one coming closer and closer to shattering. The only safe place is my basement. They're in the house. They know where I'm hiding and the door is covered. Birds trying to slide under the bottom of the door and I'm stuck here. There's a single sound down here, the sound of a crow. It's down here. It's searching. It knows I'm damned. It knows. And I'm damned. They know what I've done. They've come to take me, to punish me. As the crow draws closer, I know it is the end. They're gone, but as I take a step up and back onto the ground floor, the birds have been replaced with sirens and flashing lights. They found her body. Those fucking birds. They uncovered her. That damn girl who ruined my family. She came out a killer. Her first and last victim was her own mother, and I stopped her. I should be a hero. A fucking hero. But this is the end. As I'm pushed into the police car, the last thing I see of my home is a little girl. Eye sockets crimson, and a crow with eyes black as sin.
Oh, you're still here. I was certain you had died or fled in absolute terror at the first syllable after my brilliant intro. My apologies. I wasn't really expecting anyone to actually make it this far. Nevertheless, if you enjoyed what you've heard this evening, then make sure you leave a like on this video and strike that subscribe button. Go on, bury it. Give it all you've got. It is how we keep the lights on in this place and feed the feral werecats that have made their home in the former manager's chest cavity. And now, it is with a heavy heart that I regret to inform you that it is time for us to depart. But don't despair. I can already hear your incessant weeping. I'll be here every Tuesday and Thursday to bring you more bone-chilling and soul-shivering stories to whet that insatiable appetite of yours. Now go forth, my ghastly gang, and stay spooky.